In the year 2025, the robotics company ORM Corp have security and military robots in place all over the world. The CEO, Sir Louis Leon Paradim, or LLP for short, is the world's richest man, but strangely, he still wants more. LLP plans to install Krang chips into every ORM Corp bot as a free upgrade. This generous act would allow him to flip a switch and control them all, and once he does that, there's nothing stopping him from taking over the world. Unfortunately for LLP, a brilliant young scientist, engineer, roboticist, commando, glam rock cowboy named Ziv Zoolander, or ZZ for short, works at ORM Corp and decides to add whistleblower to his ever-expanding CV. He wants to stop LLP any way he can, and thankfully, he's not alone. Because it turns out he's been building bots that have personalities and emotions, called boys. And now they're gonna fight alongside him as the Boys Brigade. I'll tell you right now, this show uses a lot of Z's. And no, it never makes sense or is funny or anything. But to honor it, I will make sure my script includes as many Z's as possible. Ziv blows up a Krang chip factory, which makes him fly, but the news report doesn't mention that. Instead, they lie and say ZZ killed civilians, even though he definitely gave the place a quick check beforehand. So that's him a terrorist now. He's left with no choice but to hide out underground with the boys and his little sister Blitzy, who jumps at the chance to be a terrorist too. Apparently in the 90s it was considered cool to commit corporate sabotage. Thankfully today's youths know better. Each episode revolves around ORM Corp's latest plan to take over the world, and ZZ and his boys being a thorn in their side. Highlights include Ziv posing as the rock star Randall Crandall to gain access to LLP's birthday party. But it turns out LLP assumed ZZ would do that and replaced himself with a robotic double, which is actually a bomb.
Man, you made me miss my gig.
I've touched Randall Crandall's shoes!
Shine 'em while you're down there, baby.
You know what cartoons need to start bringing back? Laboratories being hidden inside Incan temples.
The lab itself is in this ancient temple. Pretty interesting, huh?
Why?
This one's about Bats losing his memory and joining a Little League team. It's nice, even if there's a bit where it sounds like two tunes are playing over the dialogue at the same time.
The strange baseball-playing bot I reported to you about earlier today, and the team's captain.
You will notice that in any clip I show, there will be music playing. The composer seems to have made 4 different tunes for this show, and there is hardly a single second of it that isn't drowning in the music. Listen to this dialogue if you can.
Jungle Fiber will make a high-altitude stealth flight over the base so I can drop in with Genesix on the street board.
What do you mean by dropping?
We'll use our mini hang gliders. It's the only way to avoid their radar.
I was afraid that was what you meant.
You'll land Jungle Fiber by remote control a mile from the base after we eject.
Here, this episode about everyone being trapped inside a dome is titled The Tome of the Doom. Should we change that? Nah, you're right, it's for fucking kids. We also have ORM Corp planning to take out several world leaders with a bomb on board their high-speed Magno train to New York. Yes, high-speed rail in 2025. 1993's idea of evil is downright aspirational to us today. Not that I'm criticizing sending cars down a big pipe.
We'll be right back.
Let's talk about the higher-ups at ORM Corp for a moment. You already know LLP, but second in command are the excellently named Lady Frenzy and Dr. Hiss. A fan favourite in the masturbation community, Lady Frenzy charms anyone hesitant to do business with ORM Corp. This leads to a fun moment where she attempts to bribe a bank owner with $10 million and a shag, and he's like, just the money will be fine, thanks. And she's raging.
I find you very attractive, Lady Frenzy, but my heart belongs only to money.
At one point, Zizi and the boys sneak into her room to use a mind reader on her while she's asleep.
What's the big idea, Watson? I just wanted to kiss her.
Physical contact will break the effect of the sleeper device.
Whoa, bro, don't kiss her. That'll just wake her up. Yeah, cheers, Watson. Nothing worse than a doctor with no moral compass, is there? Unless they're also a cybernetic mutant, you know, but what are the odds of that? Oh my god, I forgot about Dr. Hiss.
This is Hiss!
You're mad, Dr. Hiss! You can't treat people like this!
Don't worry, you won't be people much longer. Let them walk through our security lines so they'll be on private property. I love acting in self-defense.
ORM Corp's most brilliant, most mad scientist is one of the most unashamedly evil characters. But they don't keep him hidden in a basement. He gets to meet world leaders and they're like, hello, Dr. Hiss. I hear you have a really pleasant contract for me to sign.
Dr. Hiss, it is good to see you again.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good of you to come.
Fucking look at him. His name is Dr. Hiss. Silly, maybe, but try to keep in mind, they were making this cartoon out of the goodness of their hearts. It wasn't like other old cartoons which only existed to be adverts for a toy line. Ah, yes it was, you stupid pig. According to the frankly massive card back, his principal delight is the suffering of others, and this button allows you to watch blood pumping through his exposed heart. And while the spring in his step is still as strong as 3 bin men, whatever liquid this monster contained 30 years ago has long since returned to fluid space. But why does he come with 3D shades? I just about hear you ask. It's hard to make out what you're saying while I'm up here and you're all the way down there. Well, the Bots Master featured segments called Laser Time. When this icon appears on screen, simply pop on your 3D shades to turn these action scenes into a brain-frying spectacle.
Listen up, you all! You're the Boys Brigade! When it's laser time, put on the 3D shade! Laser time, boys!
For those without the glasses, it just looks like everything starts sliding around a lot. And when I say those without the glasses, I basically mean everyone, because you couldn't use any 3D shades. You needed their 3D shades, which you'd only get with a videotape or an action figure. I picked up one of each so that I can, all these years later, actually experience laser time in French. 1 episode per cassette, by the way. When aliens show up to evaluate our performance as a species, I think putting a single 22-minute episode of a cartoon on a videotape is gonna cost us a lot of points. Anyway, let's see how this looks. Christ, sorry, hang on 1 second. Okay, here we go. And, oh my god. I'm there! Anybody want anything brought back from the Bots Master while I'm there? Is it even possible for me to come back? Honestly, I have to admit, the effect looks a lot better than I expected. Had I experienced this in '93, I definitely would have said wow through a mouthful of potato waffle. The only downside to Laser Time is because every episode had to have one. A lot of them end up being pretty mindless exchanges of laser fire where wave after wave of bots explode. But don't worry, the baddie bots don't have personalities or emotions. Only ZZ knows how to make bots like that. Strangely, he seems to have surrounded himself with boys bots that annoy him. Like Kiddy, the robotic child, who only seems to exist as a liability machine. and Burden, the robotic bird called Burden. Not to mention the whole shelf of robotic heads that, well...
Stop it! I can't stand anymore! You're so funny, Keeper!
The oddest example of this is when he builds Moms, his first boy's woman, for the sole purpose of getting the house tidied up. But everyone hates her for making them do chores. Ugh, we fucking hate him, right fellas? Always making us pick up our footballs and our pizza crusts. They strap her down and try to reprogram her, but nobody can tame Boots this bossy. Sure would be a shame if she fucking died and never showed up again. Yes, that's right. Even though she ultimately saves the day and all their lives and they all end up loving her, Moms is dumped right back into the scrap pile. We'll never forget you, Moms. Or repair you. And that's nothing compared to the body cloning machine that Genesix builds for one episode. And look, I don't watch The Bots Master for realism, but this thing allows anyone to fully become anyone else, even bots. All they need is a photo of who they want to become, and they can even pass ID scans. Absolutely no attempt to explain how characters with 6 arms can become characters with 2 arms and rollerblades, or how your height can just change, or how your fucking eyes work. It's just ludicrous. And they never use or mention this tech again, even though it allows them to walk right into RM Corp and use their big buttoned phone for the elderly. They just go right back to fake mustaches and hiding in trees. And I don't mean hiding in trees, I mean hiding in trees. I've no idea why they do this or even how. But the body cloning machine got me thinking about the Star Trek Voyager episode Deadlock. In Deadlock, Voyager is duplicated, but both ships exist in the same location in space. Events play out differently on each ship, and eventually they become aware of each other and find a way to communicate. On one Voyager, Harry Kim and a newborn baby die, so his duplicate takes the duplicate baby and hops over to the ship that isn't going to explode, so they can basically replace themselves before their Voyager self-destructs and its entire crew die. In the final 30 seconds of the episode, Harry mentions to Janeway, "Isn't it a bit mad that the Harry Kim you knew and technically everyone I knew just died?" And she's like, "Just another Monday at the office, huh?" And they walk off, yucking it up, knowing full well that neither of them are ever going to talk about this again. That's episodic television for you. And I miss it. That soft reset every week allowed writers to explore so many more ideas rather than having to stick with one for a whole season. What if everyone on the Enterprise started to disappear? What if Miles O'Brien spent 20 years in a mind prison? What if Riker spent 20 minutes in a mind prison? What if Riker spent 20 minutes in a mind prison? What if Riker spent 20 minutes in a mind prison with a puppet? What if there was a ghost? What if there was a ghost in the machine? What if there was a machine without a ghost, but it let you look like anyone? Yes, it's silly that they don't bring back Moms or use the body cloning machine again, and that Harry Kim laughs about the crew he knew dying in an explosion. But the trade-off is more variety, exploration, and imagination. Do you end up with a bunch of stinkers? Sure, but I'll take a dozen Sub-Rosas for one Darmok. You don't get a Frankenstein and Cher episode of the X-Files without also getting a Mulder Shags a Vampire episode. though I understand that those descriptions don't immediately make it clear which is the good one. I guess this is a roundabout way of saying I like that they have a body cloning machine that they never mention again. I like that there's a magic crystal that makes an evil duplicate of a robot somehow. I like that there's a dome of doom. And did I just use the Bots Master as a springboard to talk about how episodic Star Trek series are better than serialized Star Trek series? Yes!